back. Hello, hello. Happy Friday. How is everybody doing? If you're joining live, please give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know the tech's working. That's always really helpful. So, hello, welcome back. If you are new around here, hi, I'm Toni Collis. I'm an executive coach for women in tech. I am on a mission to make the tech industry better for the human race so we build better technology. And I'm doing that by supporting women just like you, including you, I hope, to get seen, get heard, have their voice heard, so that we get our opinions heard at the table, ultimately to build better technology, because the fastest way to build better products is to have a team of people who represent the human race. And, 51% of the human race is women, so we need a voice at the table. And unfortunately, we're actually in an era where women's voices are being heard less for the first time in a while. And that devastates me. And so this session, session 3 of the Promotion Playbook. Don't worry if you've missed 1 and 2. I'm going to do a bit quick recap in just a minute, but also you can go watch these afterwards as well. But this is really about making sure you get promoted, you get heard. Some of the women I'm talking to at the moment in the last few months, they're finding it harder than ever to get heard. They have been demoted, or they've not been demoted, but their responsibilities have been taken away. And we need to shift this. I know this is a really hard time for us and for many other underrepresented groups, but the tech industry can't wait. The future of the human race cannot wait. We need to be doing this. So before I rant anymore, let's talk about you. Let's talk about your prospects, your career. I want to hear from you. I want to know, how are you arriving to today's session, right? How are you feeling? Are you feeling perfect? You're probably not here if you're feeling perfect. Are you curious? Are you tired? Are you motivated? Are you overloaded? Are you ready? Where are you at right now? There's no right state to be in, just your state. That's it. So let's ground ourselves by understanding where we are right now. And then let's start with a bit of a recap. So, as I said, this is session 3 of 4 on promotion readiness. Session 1 was all about the performance trap. This pattern I see so many of us in. We're over delivering. We're taking pride in being the one who can fix everything, holding the team together, but we're not seen as the person to promote. We name that as the performance trap. We're performing, but not promotable, right? Session 2 last time was all about stepping into our strategic voice. We talked about being the person not doing more work, but leading the work. And we talked about using outcome, process, ask, my favorite framework ever, other than notice, pause, reframe. Outcome, process, ask. The language of leadership to make sure your ideas are heard, you're asking powerful questions, you're getting traction, you've got clarity, people around you are like, yeah, okay, she's got something to say. I already heard from some of you that you've made shifts already. People are listening differently. The points are landing faster. Meetings are feeling easier. Good. That's the work working. You're doing the work and it's paying off. Now, today, we're going to shift and tie those pieces together. We're talking visibility and presence today, because you're brilliant. You're strategic. You're deeply impactful. But if you're not seen with visibility and you don't have the presence, you're not the next obvious leader. So if today your work is great, but it's not speaking for itself, no one is hearing you. Your promotion will go to someone else. So the focus in today's session is, how do you become known for the right things by the right people in a way that feels authentic, grounded, not self-promotion or performative? And then once you are visible, how does your presence back it up? Presence is not charisma. It's not being an extrovert. I'm not an extrovert, by the way. I'm a complete introvert. Might not believe that, but I am. It's not changing who you are. In fact, I'm super passionate about ensuring women get to show up as the most authentic version of themselves, but the highest performance version of that authentic self. Excuse me. It is not about getting you to show up as somebody that you're not. It is about recognizing, this is authentic me. Now, this is the best version of me. I don't want you being the man in the room. I don't want you echoing the man. It doesn't work for us, by the way. I've talked about this so much. If you have heard me say this before, just stick with me, because pretending to be like men, mimicking men, being mentored by men, and then doing what they do does not work for women. If you show up more argumentative like men, it will backfire. If you hold your ground like men, it often backfires. It doesn't always, my love. It doesn't always. There is absolutely a place for holding your ground, and I am passionate about making sure we do hold our ground. We have boundaries. I'm not saying don't hold your ground, but if we do it like men do it, we're called argumentative and difficult. We have double standards. We are held to a different standard. If you just do what men do, you will be told you're difficult. It doesn't work for us. And that's okay, because actually, I think a lot of the way that men do it isn't ideal. They've just got away with it, right? Men, this is very generalization-y. I've just made up a word there, but men rise to the top when they are brash, there's bravado, they argue. They don't rise to the top because they lift people up alongside them. And that's not actually good for business. When we have the leaders which lift everybody up with them, when we aren't argumentative, but we have really powerful things to say, we back it up with strategy, we back it up with data, we are leading with great insights. When we rise to the top because of that, which is what I teach and I believe in, you bring your team with you and the company does better. One of the reasons why diverse companies do better is not just because of diversity of thought, which is a big piece, and actually how I started today. I really wish somebody would research this, by the way. If we've got anybody linked to a sociologist who would research this, I would love it if they did. But one of the reasons in my mind why companies perform better when you've got diversity at the top is because it's diversity of the way people lead, not just their insights and their ideas, but because for those of us who are underrepresented, we're held to a higher standard. When we actually get up there, we are better leaders than our peers. We are, just because we're held to a higher standard. And we have a positive impact on those around us because they see we get more done. So today, we are going to be talking about how to take up space, how to speak, how we pause, how we close, people's experience of us being in the room. Because last time we talked about how we were talking. Now I want to talk about how people experience you talking. We're going to go practical, not theoretical. It's definitely one like I want you to listen to this today and then take action. You're going to have behaviors that you can start using this afternoon. That's my goal for you. And then next week, the final full session Promotion Playbook, we're going to build in how you'll have got the problems, you'll have got the voice from last week. This week, you're going to get the practical behaviors. Next week, we're talking sponsors, advocates, promotion narrative. We're going to bring it all together. So this stops about being developing yourself and becomes an actual plan to move up. That's the whole point of Promotion Playbook. We put all the pieces together. There's a plan. You go to your boss and be like, okay, here I am. Let's go. Today is a huge turning point for you. This is where you go from valuable to visible. Okay, let's get into the core idea. When we talk about visibility, what we actually mean is people being known for the right things by the right people, not just being known as hardworking or being known as the safe pair of hands, not being known as the one who always helps. But those things are lovely, but they are not promotable identity markers. Promotable identity markers are things like strategic thinker, trusted advisor, influential partner, strategy, trust, influence, the person who drives outcomes that matter to the business. Visibility is about shaping that you are known for this intentionally. Just doing it isn't enough, my love. I'm so sorry to tell you this. You have to do it and pair it with presence. What is presence? Well, presence is how people experience you when you walk into the room or open your mouth. It's your tone, it's the pace, the clarity, the quiet authority you bring. It's not charisma. It's not extroversion. It's a leadership signal even before your title catches up with your behavior, okay? Excuse me. And here's the key. Visibility without presence can come off as self-promotion. Presence without visibility can come off as invisible brilliance, right? So that's why last week we had to talk about the words you're saying and how you're saying stuff. Because if you're just visible and not saying the right things, it's not going to look good. If you're visible but you don't have executive presence, you're going to come across as self-promoting, right? You have to have the presence. You walk into the room and people pay attention. and you have to have the visibility, and you have to have what we were talking about last week, the words. When you put all that together, you will get the shift that gets you sponsored, which is what we're going to talk about next week. This is the moment when people start saying your name in rooms that you're not in. Let me just give you an example. One of my clients, let's call her Maya, senior director, level, she's in the Fortune 50 company, Fortune 50, Fortune 100. Can't remember where exactly they are. She is brilliant. Everyone relies on her. She's constantly been described as incredibly helpful. She's asked to go and talk on stage. She keeps the wheels turning in her team. All sounds lovely, but it is not the language of somebody being lined up for VP. So in her case, we started getting clear on what she actually wanted to be known for: strategic product vision, cross-functional influence, right? Those two things. That was in what I call Sparkle Plan. We did her Sparkle planning, and that's what she wants. That's where she wants to go ultimately. Product, cross-functional. So like it's in there. It's her bread and butter. It's what she wants to be known for because she's also passionate about it. Then we watched on how she was showing up to demonstrate those two things. We focus on how she's showing up in the right conversations, so how she slows herself down. The first thing she did, which we're going to talk about in a minute, is slowing her speech down by just 10%. And then we did this over several weeks, because then what we need to do was remove the apologetic qualifiers and the fillers, the ums, the ahs, can I just, oh, I'm so sorry, and speaking in outcomes first, right? Immediately, she started to do a shift. Now, I have to say, she had to do one thing after another. I think it's a lot to take on to do everything in one go. So she went first at slowing down, then she looked at the ums and the ahs, and then we took out the apologies, right? Each one took a couple of weeks to kind of embed it as a practice. And each time she's getting more and more confident. Oh my God, I can just do this. I can just do this. She came to me saying, I don't know how to slow down. I get so nervous in these meetings. I'm not aware of the ums and the ahs, because I actually got her to record herself once when she was on the public event, record herself and send it to me. I was like, there's a lot of umming and ahhing in there. So we just in practice, public speaking, like me calling her out, being really mindful, but in a less pressured environment. And the shift happens. People listen differently. She's been invited into discussions that she used to be left out of. Senior leaders start to come to her for perspective. And that's what I want for all of you. But I want you to hear this. You do not get promoted because you work harder. Let's just let that go. You get promoted because of how you are perceived as a leader. And perception is a skill, not luck, not personality. It's a learnable skill. I really, really want you to know that people with presence, they didn't just wake up like that. Sure, some people have more of it naturally than others. What I tend to find, whenever somebody has a natural skill, whatever that is, I tend to find they put in less learning. And actually, as soon as somebody learns it, they overtake the person who has the natural skill, who's just got away with it. So natural skills don't help you here. Today, we're going to learn how to build this perception skill, right? Let's start with visibility, because this is where most of us get stuck as high-performing women. Here's the trap. We're told our entire lives, we're brainwashed by society, that if we work hard, deliver great results, support others, people will notice us. And here's the thing, it kind of works for men. Men do get noticed. If you are in a majority, you are more likely to get noticed. Men are also more likely just to ask for stuff. We've been conditioned to stay quiet. We don't ask. Working hard is not going to get you to where you want to go. In fact, it's just going to cause stress and burn you out. Here's the reality. Organizations do not promote based on effort. They promote based on perceived strategic value. They do not promote out the kindness of their hearts. This is one I find it's really, really hard to get our heads around. We think, surely I'll get promoted because I'm doing more than I was 2 years ago. I'm operating at a different level than I was. They're not going to promote you unless it makes business sense. And I know so many of us really struggle with this. I have that promotion, yeah, but the business doesn't need you there. The business doesn't see the value of putting you there. There needs to be a perceived strategic value in promoting you. Effort, helpfulness, reliability, those are not identity markers that get you there, right? The patterns that I see that hold us up the most or when we're known as the reliable one. People bringing us more work and we take it on, more problems, more firefighting. We say things like, I'm happy to take that on for you. And they say things like, we'd be lost without her. She's the glue. Sounds like praise, and it is praise, but it's a stalling point at the same time because people don't promote the glue. They promote impact, they promote direction, they promote strategic leverage. They promote the fact that you're going to get them more money, more profit, more value, more of something if they promote you. So how do we shift that perception? Right. So here is where you get your pens out, ladies. Let's talk about 3 R's of visibility, right? Write this down. Relevance, relationships, recognition. Relevance, relationships, recognition. We're going to dig into each one at a time. These are the 3 levers that shape what we're known for. So start off with relevance. Relevance means aligning that you are showcasing, the stuff you're showcasing is aligned with what the business actually cares about, not what you are most proud of. I'm sorry, you got to let that go. What does the business care about? Now, I want you in a role where what you care most about is also what the business cares about, because otherwise you're misaligned. That causes stress, that causes burnout. But ultimately, if you're thinking, I'm passionate about this is a mistake I made. I was super passionate about something, and honestly, the business wasn't. It was nice. It was really nice for them. They looked good, but it wasn't making them money. It gave them a reputation. And that reputation wasn't a money maker. It was just nice. Made them look good on the world stage. And it's what I was most passionate about. So I was excelling in it, and I was like letting go of the other stuff because I just wasn't that interested. I was proud of it. I know I was kicking ass. They were never going to promote me. It takes a lot for me to admit that. I had to leave because they saw me as this reliable person who was going to keep delivering. I mean, I was working crazy hours. I was doing all the things. It was hard. It was time consuming. I was keeping everything afloat, but it wasn't what was moving the needle for the business. It just looked nice. It was one of those little things. They're like, yeah, checkbox, that's good. And what actually matters in promotion is something that materially moves the needle for the business. So just because you care about it doesn't make it the right thing. And if you can't find something in your current organization you care about, that's a sign to exit stage left, or at least figure out what it would look like. I've managed to find a place where I can do what I love, right? So I want you to ask yourself, what is strategically important to the organization in the next 6 to 18 months? What does my work do to connect to that? If you have sight of the business strategy, you need to know exactly how the work you and your team is doing is delivering on that business strategy. If you don't know that, you've got a problem. If your team doesn't know that, you've got a problem. You've got to connect the obvious for others. You got to make it visible. You've got to know exactly what your relevance is, that first R. Let's talk about R number 2, relationships. This is the hardest part for overachievers. Your manager is not enough in terms of relationships. Your manager can approve a promotion. They cannot make it happen. Promotions happen because multiple people are seeing you as someone whose work matters to them, cross-functionally, multiple skip levels, key stakeholders, people that are in the room when you're not in the room who are advocating for her work matters. So you need to identify who are the senior leaders connected to the priorities you want to shape. Who has the influence over the promotion conversation? Who needs to know your name and your value? Then we build intentional strategic proximity without being political or fake. This is not networking. This is professional reputation architecture. It's something I actually was just doing in a different context, but I want to show you how important this is. I was doing a different context just half an hour ago with a client of mine. She is about to start first 90 days in a new company. I'm so proud of her for landing this role. It's like a dream role. So proud of her. Starting in 2 weeks. She just signed the offer yesterday. Fabulous. And so I was like, okay, let's prep. I want you to take the next 2 weeks off, but we need 3 hours to prep, because the first thing she needs to figure out is those relationships. And one of the things I love to do with people in their first 90 days is in their first 2 weeks is watch everybody. So you'll get an org chart, but what is the unofficial org chart? Who has a dotted line of like, just, they always ask that person their thoughts. They always, when somebody says something, everybody listens. When this person says something, nobody listens. Who are the unofficial key individuals? The ones who have a huge amount of influence, even if their job title doesn't suggest it. You need to know that at every stage. It's so important promotion. But one of the things I do in your first 90 days is set you up for promotion in 18 months. And that starts with reputation amongst your relationships. So you identify your relationships. Even if you're not going for promotion right now, you're just watching this out of curiosity. Start that relationship understanding. Start building those. It's not networking, it's your reputation architecture. Okay, the third R of visibility is recognition. This is the one we resist as women because it feels like self-promotion. So let's reframe this. Recognition is making your impact visible and repeatable so that others can advocate for you accurately. It can be as simple as sending a 2-sentence summary after a project milestone, naming your contribution in meetings without over-explaining, sharing outcomes rather than effort, small but subtle, consistent behaviors. So let me just bring back Maya for a second, that client I talked about a few minutes ago. Remember how she used to be described as helpful, always there, keeps everything together? Once we clarified what she wanted to be known for, that strategic product leadership, we did 3 things. Her relevance. She started framing her updates in terms of revenue impact and customer outcomes, not tasks. So it's kind of what we were talking about last week. She made sure she was relevant to the business. Relationships. We identified 2 other senior directors who were peers of hers and a particular VP, not her boss, that were shaping next year's planning. Her boss is not actually involved in that. And she began contributing early insights to their discussions. And then finally, recognition, the third R. She shifted from I worked on to here's the business outcome we were able to achieve. Here's what's next. And she was saying this in front of the right people. She had the relationships. She got the recognition from them. The language changed. The perception changed. The opportunities changed, right? So let me ask you this and pop this in the chat for me. What are you currently known for? Just a phrase? No judgment here. Like, what is it that you think you're known for? Pop in the chat and tell me. I would love to hear from you. If you want, send me a DM on LinkedIn. That's also fine. What do you want to be known for, though? Again, it's just a simple question. And yet, what do you want to be known for? We're not fixing it yet. We're just going to name it for right now. Pause, respond, reflect. Reflect on what you understand about yourself, right? What I want to see is that you understand where you want to go and you recognize working harder in the same way isn't going to get you there. But shifting what you highlight, you've got to shift how you talk about what you do, highlight your outcomes, how you communicate, shift how people see you. I want you to pause. I want you to take a stock. What are you known for? What do you want to be known for? If you don't know that, we can't really do this work. It's so important. Okay. So now you know visibility shapes what you're known for. So let's talk about how you show up. Executive presence. Woo. I feel like there should be a bingo card every time we say executive presence. It is one of the most misunderstood parts of leadership development. Most people think it means being charismatic, speaking loudly, taking up space in a room, being a certain type of personality. None of that is true. None of it at all. Presence is how people experience you. And that experience comes from 3 very learnable things: your voice, your posture, and your brevity. There is more to it than that. We talk about gravitas, we talk about perception, there's all sorts of things. But ultimately, you can make a huge change in perception of you, people's experience of you with voice, posture, and brevity. There is more, as I said, but let's start here. Okay, number 1, voice. Voice is not volume, it's pace, it's tone and confidence. Most of us struggle with getting heard, so we've learned to talk fast. We've learned, like, there's a micro pause, I'm going to insert myself. We give far too much detail. We're trying to signal credibility. We're trying to demonstrate how much we know. We don't want to waste people's time. But actually, what we end up doing by speaking too fast, giving too many details, trying to back ourselves up too many times. What it actually says is we have urgency, we're over-prepared, we're anxious, and we're trying to convince. If you simply slow down, slower, intentional, grounded, and just the right amount of detail, not too much, not too little. It's about reading the room. I know what others need from you. I am very, like, a huge part of executive presence that I don't have time to go into today is about knowing for the key people in one, who is the key person in the room or key people, right? The influencers, what I was talking about before, relationships, mapping those relationships, and then asking yourself, what keeps them awake at night? I have this. I want them here. They're here. I want them here. Why are they not there already? What's the blocker? What do they need to hear? And then ask that about every person in the room, but you start with your key people. They might not be key stakeholders, but they're key people in that they're going to influence everybody else, right? That's the detail to go into, the detail that that person needs, not the detail you needed to get there. You do not need to explain the 20 steps that you went through to get to this decision. What you need to know is what is the one thing that you might not even have considered that this person cares about. That's the detail to go into. The rest of it is just noise. So here's the first thing to do. And it's kind of a segue, but the first thing I want you to try doing, which you can do today without even thinking any deeper than we're doing right now, you can talk 10% slower than instinct. Just 10%. If you are a very nervous speaker, you may well find that 10% just takes you down to the level that you would be with a friend, right? That's all we're talking about. Because when we're nervous, our pitch rises, everything just goes faster. So we're just trying to bring it back down. We're just 10% lower. That alone changes how you're perceived. So yes, all that other stuff I said, very, very important. But start with just speaking slower, because your voice isn't just information. It's proof of how you think. Okay. Number 2 on presence is our posture. I don't mean standing upright like a mannequin. I mean stillness in the right way, how you hold yourself. Leaders communicate presence through moments of quiet in their body. No fidgeting, no nodding excessively, no shrinking, no compensating. There is a power in holding our space and being intentionally still. And I say that as somebody who uses her hands a lot and was given advice very early on in her career to sit on her hands when she was in a tricky meeting. I think it was my first job interview. I was just fidget monster. I have since learned that I have ADHD and they kind of go hand in hand. But excessive use of hands is no problem. Now, hands for emoting, like I'm doing here on camera, absolutely fine. But they should be used for expression, not because you're panicking. They shouldn't be fidgeting, right? So stillness is one thing. Absolute stillness, practice it. I don't recommend sitting on your hands. I recommend if you're struggling, just hold your hands together, put them in your lap. Or the other thing I do, I think with my pen, a lot of us do this, it's well known. Have a pen. I use a tablet to write with, just because I was getting through so many notebooks. But thinking rather than with a pen, rather than typing, is very useful actually in terms of like slowing down your brain and thinking more rationally. And it gives your hands something to do. So stillness is first thing, right? But then let's all talk about how you hold yourself, because presence isn't just about stillness. It's about how we hold ourselves. Many of us literally shrink. It took a voice coach to point this out to me. Now, I've been podcasting for years, but I worked with a voice coach a couple of years ago, a couple of years into my podcast. And she said I was very good at projecting. But the thing I did, because we were practicing for going on stage. And again, I've been on stage for a decade, right? But she said the thing I did is I shrunk. I held my arms in close. And it's because as a woman, you're told to be small. You're pretty when you're small. You're taken seriously when you don't take up much space. Many women won't take a seat at the table. That's the whole lean in thing, right? Lean in, take your seat at the table rather than taking a seat at the corner of the table, the back corner, or the line further back. Take your seat. Do not shrink. When I talk about posture, I mean literally taking your seat at the table and sitting there and not shrinking, right? Next thing, don't turn off your camera. I know you don't look gorgeous today. Your hair's wet. You haven't put your makeup on. The kids just spat up on you. Men would not care. Put your camera on. I mean, I know there are some other reasons for not putting your camera on, but as a leader, it is so important to put your camera on. Be the person who puts their camera on. Honestly, it doesn't matter how you look. And you know what? Everything has filters these days. So put your camera on. Stop minimizing your presence in case it somehow offends other people. I think we have to do this actually as women. If we can just stop fitting in with what we're told society wants from us, society will move around us. But right now, we're all putting filters on. We're all okay. There's a whole other segue there that I shouldn't get into. But you've got to take up your space. Just show up. Put your camera on. Not doing that detracts from your presence. You need to take up space. You need to make sure you are the person who is there. Now, I'm not saying be like the man who takes up 3 seats. I'm not saying that. Have space for your arms, for your shoulders. I mean, I don't think you need to be like really perfect posture, but put your shoulders back, lift your chin up. I used to talk like this a lot. But shoulders back, chin up, simple, right? I don't have the best posture in the world, but I know it changes my tone when I have my chin up and my shoulders back. You belong in the room. You belong in that space. You belong on that camera. You'll be surprised how different that is when you make that small change. Okay, the third thing for presence, which I'm not doing very well today on, is brevity. There's so much to executive presence, and I want to tell you it all, but we don't have time. But the third very, very important one is brevity. This one is huge. When you speak like a senior leader, your sentences should get shorter. You're more senior. You need to explain things less. Brevity signals clarity, it signals confidence, it signals that you're thinking at the right altitude. So instead of, well, I was trying to convey earlier that this customer feedback seems to suggest that the rollout timeline is misaligned with expectations. We might want to consider, if possible, moving the date by 2 weeks so we can avoid rework. Wow, what a mouthful. I wrote that down so I did because I was like, that's a mouthful. But I've heard people say that exact kind of thing. Instead, you say, the timeline is misaligned with customer expectations. If we shift by 2 weeks, we protect credibility and avoid rework. Short, intentional, leaderly, right? So I want you to just take a moment to feel this shift. Think of one thing you said in the last couple of days at work, an update, a recommendation, a status statement. It might be written down. Now say it again in your head, but 10% slower, in 1 or 2 short sentences, and no disclaimers. Don't justify your own existence. You do not need to. Just outcome, what matters, your recommendation. That's presence right there, straight away. You've got more presence than you did half an hour ago. The more you practice that in everyday conversations, the more you are experienced as that next level leader long before your title arrives. Remember Maya, the client I talked about earlier? One of the biggest shifts for her was not doing more work. It was this. She started talking at that right altitude. She stopped talking as a senior director who needed to prove herself, and she started talking like a VP who was already shaping direction. Letting go of proving herself was huge. She has the same knowledge. She's making decisions in the same way. She's just delivering her information differently. And the impact has been massive. The VP that she's working with, but it's not her boss, but also a skip level CPO, have advocated for her behind closed doors. And that's everything. She didn't ask them to. Her leadership presence made the case for her, right? So here's your next step. Pick one visibility behavior, one presence behavior, and implement them this week. Relevance, relationships, recognition, and voice, posture, and brevity. I want one of visibility, one of presence. Just one of you. Just pick one thing. I don't care. You don't have to be perfect. I just want you to try. Consistency is everything. When visibility and presence come together, you stop being the reliable one and you start being the obvious next leader. I'm hoping you're seeing how this can make a difference. Visibility makes sure you know you are there. People know what you're about. And presence makes sure they pay attention and they see you as a leader. It gets you on the radar. It gets you noticed. It gets you sponsored, which is what we're talking about next week, right? Because here's the truth. You do not get promoted by your manager alone. Managers can approve your promotion, but sponsors make it happen. Sponsors are the people in the room that when you're not there, saying your name, advocating for your advancement. Potentially your boss isn't even there. They are aligning others to the idea that you're the next obvious step. And you do not get a sponsor by asking for one. You don't. Let's let go of that myth. You get sponsorship with your visibility and your presence, just like we've been talking about today. You've got to be worth championing, right? So next week, we're going to be talking about how to build that sponsor and advocate network, right? Because I want you to have a promotion narrative ready for the next promotion cycle. If you haven't already, go and take the promotion readiness scorecard. Go to tonicollis.com/scorecard. Go and take that, get your results, and it will tell you perhaps where there's a gap in your visibility, how you're being seen. Because I want next week to take this whole package and put you in front of the right people and have them advocate for you. So that's everything for today. I would love to know if you've got any questions on anything we've covered in the first 3 sessions, including today, because next week is our last week of this. So if you've got any questions on the promotion readiness, promotion playbook process, any of it at all, DM me on LinkedIn, comment below this video. Let me help you. Let's make sure that you aren't overhauling everything. You're not doing more work. You're literally doing exactly what's needed, no more, no less, to be seen as the person who's that plausible next leader. Consistency beats intensity every time. So you're already 99% of the way there. You just need to make sure the right people see you. I am so proud of you for just sitting through this, because you are going to be taking that next step. I'll see you same time, same place next week for the final session of the Promotion Readiness Playbook.